It's whenever you have a couple of your teammates move forward and you leave somebody behind to kind of protect them and make sure that their flank is okay, even though you know that there's a high likelihood that that character is going to die. So they just kind of have to hang out, hold that position for it. But let's stop talking about last game, Toffees. Let's go ahead and move into game number 3.
Oh, as a player, this plane gives me a tummy ache. As a spectator, it could be interesting.
It makes me happy.
We just talked about how tough these planes are, right? Literally, we're like, at least it's not a plane that goes next to Los Higos. And then this one goes ahead and does it. And that opens up some very wonky circle possibilities, many of which, a huge percentage of which actually include southern water access circles or even the wall over on the west side. So the players right now are praying for something middle north because that southwest area is absolutely brutal.
Also, the fact that Los Leones is eating up a lot of the plane path means that a couple of these teams are fighting over different vehicle points. You can see a couple of shots coming through. Hey, finally, not over towards the north. Instead, we're going back down towards the south. You're talking about water a second ago, Toffees. We still got Los Higos in the first circle. I like it.
You know, as the dishwasher at the restaurant I used to work at used to say, hey, it could be worse, and it could be, but this is going to cause some definite challenges for teams, especially in these like quick rotations. The Northeast in particular is absolutely jam-packed with teams. And Fable, for instance, is controlling, if you just look at the circle, like a huge percentage of it. So we're going to start to see some fast collapse in teams like Ascendance, Zenith, Tactical 8, I don't even know where they're going to find the real estate to get into this thing.
So we were talking about hard shifts and their play styles and how they like to kind of position around whenever everybody can't center. This is more of their style of game. They're already inside the safe zone, but they'll quickly regroup, maybe shift their way back over towards the south just a touch, try to get a little bit of distance away from the Rumblers. Rumblers playing where they always play. Everybody knows that they're going to be holding down that church just at the northeast of Chumacera. But now hard shifts have a capability to kind of tackle these late rotating teams, which is kind of one of their bread and butter moments. It's not what they always hinge all their points on. Don't think the fact that I'm saying that they're only an edge-based team. In the earlier stages is where they like to get their kills doing this.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it's like watching. I mean, there's other teams all over the world that play this sort of backfill on less advantaged style, and it works very, very cleanly. I like where they are now. Chumaceta does give them lots of options for however this circle plays out, and I think, like you said, this is potentially what they need to have a very big game. It is often that I see this circle start to pull over to that west side, so it is very, very possible that everyone on the west gets a big benefit. That said, let's look in with Fable, who has had a interesting day thus far.
They've had a couple of run-ins with some dips that weren't too friendly to them in the earlier stages of the game. But, I mean, Fable, all things considered, is presently in 18th. Still have a full week to go forward. They're just chilling in that middle of the pack range right now. But they don't have too much work that they have to really put in to get more out of it. You can see that just 13 points ahead of them is going to be where T8 is and shifts them all the way into 13th if they can manage to string together a good game or two here or there. The question comes into play is, are the big dogs going to let anybody have a good game? Because there's so many points that are just being nommed up by these other teams, specifically the reoccurring big three that we've seen for today.
All right, I expect it to be a little bit quiet for just a couple of minutes here as everyone sort of finds their way in. I got to show some respect to those northern teams. Who is that? Is that Virtue has gone literally all the way to the military base. So that, I guess, is a sign that they will be coming in very late. Ice Tech does get his eyes on Sonics, but isn't able to get that first knock. And now they are going to go head-to-head.
Sonics are so quick at responding to threats like this. Look at the reaction come out and the positioning coming through for Sonics. Everybody hears the shots, calls out, repositions, and now becomes the aggressor near on instantly. It's only taken a couple of seconds for them to turn everything that should have been Liberate's favor, holding down the complex, seeing the vehicles come into play. They're just turning everything on their head. 2 members now down for Liberate.
Oh, no!
Tries to get a peek out the side, and that's going to be Ice Tech that spots out one of them, but has to be careful on the hillside on the other side of this. A quick push comes through, now dropping it down to just be Hello Senpai, the last one up for his team.
Yikers. That is the Sonics playing straight up bully PUBG. They got that first knock on Baja, and it was all out push after that. And are we surprised to watch the Sonics go full bully Smash Mouth? No, not at all.
See, you say it reminds you of like you keep talking about bully style. What that reminds me of is like like the bully that's sitting there trying to flex on the kid, and the kid just turns around and jaws him. You know what I mean? Because like Sonics were in a very disadvantaged position there. They were just kind of riding around in their vehicles. Somebody shoots at them and they're like, no, you don't do that to us. And it just jumps out and just decks them right in the face. So things to note, we still have Los Leones in this circle, and nobody wants to play around Los Leones. So that is
mental image. I had a mental image of like surprise bullies at your high school or something, like a kid who just jumps out of lockers, pops people, and then runs away cackling. I feel I don't know, mentally that just sounded highly entertaining. All right. What were you saying? Los Leones. Sorry.
Los Leones. It's essentially a dead zone. Look, nobody's going there. Everybody's trying to leave. Everybody just wants to hang out in the suburbs. That's the good real estate around Los Leones. But that means that there's almost a 1 kilometer squared area of this map that is just dead zone right now that nobody wants to go to unless they absolutely have to.
And Oath is going to backfill as Liberate is chased away yet again. I believe that this will be the story of the rest of the game for Hello Senpai as he just continues to try to stay ahead of the aggressors.
At this point, he's a goodbye Senpai. Every single time he sees somebody, he's just waving, running, just going, dude. So, okay, it looks like... I think he's going to be the Los Leones guy. He's going to be our one guy that gets there.
He has no other option. I mean, essentially, not only is he running away from him, but he's got an open top car. Like, this is like worst case scenario across the board. I think even a minivan might have been better in that situation. So he's just going to get into town, grab some real estate, and just pray for the best.
You say minivan, and I just have too many flashbacks of dying in that thing. One eye opens Delta, looking at the reposition towards the northern section of Los Leones. Oath is still playing around that point, as well as Ascendances. Looks like they're just going to cut a path, try to get to the western area, get that control on that high ground point to play around. Most of our teams are playing pretty much Los Leones and south right now. You can see that it's really just everybody out and around these points. PDS is playing back over towards the west, but really it's just T8, the only team that's not really wanting to make an adventure. Oh, that and I think it's Virtue that you were talking about beforehand that's still way over there towards the north.
Yep. And, you know, I respect it. Late rotation. And as you can see, there's not going to be anybody contesting them coming into the circle, except unless they're unfortunate enough to bump up against Tactical 8. No one north of Oath, which honestly, I'm a little bit surprised by, Matcham.
There's not a lot of great places to play in those areas. I mean, it's that area around Picado. And, you know, down to the southwest of Picado is kind of a no man's land to play around as well. So most of our teams are just clustering around points that they know that are fairly safe. The issue comes into play is we don't often see Los Leones be an ending point in competitive PUBG. That means that there's a likelihood that this is going to shift towards the north or towards the west, depending either way. And we could see another mass migrations of teams trying to leave the suburbs of Los Leones.
Yeah, you know, I heard a feature from Avenger earlier today when he was on DreamHack talking about the importance of this sort of next phase shift and how you need to target being in the next circle so you're never forced to move when you don't want to. And I think that does sum up why we're seeing this massive collapse in the middle. Almost every team that's come in has a very good, higher than 50% chance to potentially not have to go anywhere on the next shift. That said, if it goes north, Tactical 8 is going to be in a very good spot.
See, everybody that was trying to put, like, whenever they were in geometry class, and they're like, when am I ever going to use geometry and circles and all this other stuff? You're going to use it for playing Battle Royale, people. And look, the shift comes into the west. All right. So luckily, most of our teams are in position, but nobody wants to stay on the edge of the zone. Big questions coming to play are teams like Ascendance, Duel, Fabled, going to reposition back over towards the north, or maybe just more towards the west. You can see that's already what the hard shifts are doing.
Get the church, Rumblers. Get the church. They should be pushing over there. It looks like we've got a couple of teams interested in that real estate. Fabled already loaded up and rotating very aggressively. We're going to see this across the map as everyone looks to get themselves a little bit of a better spot. Even teams like Zenith, who were in the circle, are looking to get to the middle. So a massive migration, and it does look like the church will be claimed by the Rumblers.
Oh, I'll take things that could almost be guaranteed for 200, Alex, you know? I mean,
no one even tried. Nobody else
even it's tried. Just everybody's like, we already know where they're going to be. Just let them have it. The thing about it, though, is in this circle, this place is stupid strong. It's got vision for days. It's highly protectable. Unless you let somebody just kind of get the foothill down below you, you got a little bit of trouble. Hardships look like they're taking a couple of shots back over towards PDS, as Jasonk's going to be rolling by, taking a couple of shots, connecting with him, but just trying to be a little bit stylish for it. I like it, but Sociopath, you in some trouble, buddy. There's nowhere to go. He's going to get dropped off, and here it looks like going to be a quick polish out as the rest of PDS now has to figure out what they're going to do. but Clueless is coming up back behind them, so they found themselves pincered between two different teams with not a lot of options.
Things rarely go well for sociopaths, and today it is no different. Let's look at these rotations. Okay, there we go. Let's jump over here as PDS is pushing in on Team Clueless. They get the knock and flush on NHS. And I think Clueless will just... Are they coming? No, they can't possibly.
Is that like a karma style thing? You just kind of roll up, you get killed, and then you turn around and somebody rolls up on you and you get a kill. So it's like even now, right?
Right.
No bad luck, no good luck in that style of situation. Ascendant's still playing back over towards the suburbs of Los Leones. Most of our teams already repositioned back over towards center, but Virtue is kind of doing a little bit of a loop back over towards where Oath is playing right now. The north is kind of like the calmer section of everything that's happening. The hills just to the southeast of Chumacera, where we're at right now, is where we've been seeing a lot of our action. Well, I say that as now we've shifted back over next to the Los Leones area, where we see Ascendance and Zenith playing around Fable's new position.
Let's return to our favorite book or storybook called Fabled Tries to Find Somewhere to Sit. As honestly, it just seems like that's constant. Is Fabled is just trying to find somewhere to call home in all of these games and just losing people and taking shots the whole way there. No one's pushing them, but like we saw, we lost Hella on the way to that dip.
We often see that a lot of teams like to play that low end point right around Los Leones. Shoot to kill is not inside this game, and shoot to kill is very commonly playing the area just to the north of that, the other side of the road, and usually makes a push back down to get the kills. So I'm venturing to say that maybe it feels a little bit more safe since shoot to kill isn't into this, and that's one of their known strategies and how they aggress through these circles. With the way that we see the setup coming through right now, it's going to be Ascendants that might try to contest, but I don't think that they want to. Should be noted, our boy Hello Senpai still alive. He managed to get to those areas very early, still just kind of chilling there. Nothing's happening next to him, and he loves it the whole time.
Right, I was saying this is best case scenario. I do want to give a shout out to Ascension though. As you look at their spread there on the map, Fable is hiding from the team the duo that is on the low ground. And I think one of the issues that Hella ran into is they did not expect them to have a shooter in the top of the apartment complexes on the third rise, which makes all of the cover that Fable has a lot thinner because of that high ground angle. So very smart play by Ascension to sort of have that spread out and make sure that they have a man in the high rise.
Right. This is where it's going to get a little bit dangerous. Oath is making their rotations. These guys know the map so well. They managed to find these very tricksy little rotation points that nobody else tries to use, get into a point to get a little bit more information. They almost move themselves I'd say probably about 700 or 800 meters forward without taking too much damage. Reposition, now going to get their vehicles into a safety point and are now much closer towards the circle. Addition to that, they managed to time it well enough to get ahead of Virtue's reposition into the circle and T8s. So now those two teams are skirmishing back behind where they were just at, and they're already safely, comfortably sitting inside their lazy boys waiting for somebody to roll up around their location.
Lazy boys. Sorry. Can't wait for later. Let's see. We've got Virtue up on top of the hill, pushing down towards Tactical 8. They've got a flyer out there on the left side in the form of Super, who does need to be careful. He's got a car. I think it's time to just X-nay on the push and stay. Is that how you do Pig Latin?
It's close enough. It sounded right to me. Well, he's got a little bit of high ground to work with. I don't know. I like the way that Super's kind of playing this. I'm curious on what the rest of the team is doing, though. Are they still just trying to suspend him? What's going on with William off to the side of this? Because the full re-engage is going to happen. Not re-engage. The regroup is going to happen from T8. So while Super had good positioning, he really couldn't get a lot out of it. The res should come back through because the wall is going to provide a little bit of cover unless they just hit a perfect three-pointer, which I don't think that Virtue has the angle to do from here. So yeah, that's just going to be a reset, and both teams going to be very noisy neighbors to it, as finally it's going to be Super tries to step in, get a little bit more aggressive. Revenge happens back on the other side of it, though, as now Virtue's trying to find an angle to play around. Zelt's got himself a nice little peak angle that he can play with. Looks like he's just going to go ahead and go for the flush first. I like that. No point in having to reload the AR. You might need that at the time.
So did Super knock himself on the epic charge? Is that what happened just there?
I'm not gonna lie. I was caught up looking directly in what was going on with the crosshairs, not what was happening inside the kill feed, so I didn't see it.
I think he came in very aggressive and kind of put himself at a disadvantage. That said, Agent trying to give him the cover. Battylaw goes down to a nice snipe from Steezy, as this is a very tough compound to push, and it seems like Virtue is really putting all their eggs in this basket.
I love that, throwing out the grenades. Doesn't care about the fact that barred windows evasion. Doing a little bit of evasion there, but not enough as he gets spotted out. Gonna be Lush that goes ahead and gets down onto him, as well as a quick flush coming out from Lush. I just wanted to say that because it was fun to say.
Quick flush from Lush. Yeah, no, I get it. I dig it.
And it looks like that's starting to calm down, as I don't think that Virtue is going to be too aggressive with it. New Circle's going to pop, and it's going to put VTS right back in the center of everything. So Veritas in a very friendly position. A lot of teams playing around the outside are going to have to figure out some way to cut into a path here, and it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, Zenith in a very nice little spot. Veritas also going to be feeling pretty good with their road split, and you can see Ascension now collapsing down to sort of the low, I don't want to say the low ground, the mid ground in this hold that they've been working with to rally up and potentially push through Fabled, because Fabled now serves as the blockers, right? Fabled was at a disadvantage for a little while, but with the circle shift, now Ascension has the tall order of getting through them.
And it depends on how Ascension wants to play this. A foot push back over towards Fabled is a safer play, but they have to be careful of third-party shots getting come through. You saw just a second ago, they do have the vehicles. They could potentially use that to rotate. But the problem comes into play, you know that there's 54 people still alive. This is not the time nor the space to hop inside of a vehicle unless it's a last resort, because there's a good chance you're going to die for it. So most of our teams are kind of positioning around that.
I will apologize. I keep saying Ascension instead of Ascendance, and I apologize for the carnage that I've brought to their name. I'll work on getting that and the suffix right in the future.
I don't judge you. We've got Veritas and Virtue inside of here, and I keep seeing it, and it hurts my brain. It hurts me so bad.
Like you said, just thank goodness the Guadalajara gas cans aren't here with the Sonics. That's all. We'll just leave it at that.
Makes it a little bit easier. Notice the reposition that's come out from Oath. They do have a front man that's going to be playing up over here, and that's going to be a Relo, trying to see if maybe he can deny anything. If anybody tries to run into the circle, Oath should be able to line up some shots, and then Relo is going to be the cleanup point for that. And also kind of a safety play coming out for them. You can see that's going to be Virtue that's just trying to get into position right now. They do have one of the members hunkered down off onto point, and that's about all they can really do. Liberate's last member, although Senpai, is walking up back behind Ascendance from this. Not a lot of options, but it should also be noted Gravity doesn't have a good option to play yet either. Way back down to the south, still looking over around Duel. So you can see a lot of these teams need to move, but there's nowhere to go. And the ones that are moving are starting to move into contact with each other in weird, awkward ways, like Clueless and PDS, where now you can see Hardships can reposition, finally get the edge fight that they were looking for, and maybe getting a little bit more damage, maybe pick up a couple of kills, third partying into that fight.
Oh, slick. He jumped over his own teammate. Love to see it. Gravity tries to find their way into the middle. You said it. Hello, Senpai, who we referred to as Goodbye, Senpai, earlier, is now Please Don't Notice Me, Senpai, as he tries to sneak into the map behind Ascendance, as well as Fabled. Now, that said, that puts them into contest with Oath just across the street. And you know, Oath smells blood.
Yeah, Oath has got themselves a very formidable position to play around at the time. Ascendance, you can see, not wanting to be too aggressive. Any peeks from this point can be kind of hazardous. So that's why they're playing a little bit of on a back angle for this. Ripper, last guy, is going to be coming forward, just going to kind of roll back into that same cubby. I wouldn't be surprised. He might try to stretch his legs out and see if maybe he can get a little bit more information, but I don't know if Oath or the surrounding teams, such as Fabled, who has now got that high ground advantage back over towards him, is going to let him get too much. So yeah, he's just going to reposition right off onto the angle of this. But with that reposition, that could allow Hello Senpai to also manage to make it inside the circle. Just being a little sneaky player, kind of crawl back in and let Fabled and Ascendance continue to protect him.
Hey, man, I love it. I love watching the sneaky deke from the back. So we'll see if he manages. Oh, God. And that shift is just anti-Senpai. So we'll see how he handles that. As, again, Zenith is going to be very happy, as is Veritas, with the way that these shifts have gone.
It's like Hardships still trying to stretch their legs back over towards Clueless. Problem with it is the fact that this is not inside safe zone. So if they can get any type of throwable at an angle to come after Clueless, it's easy pickup. The problem comes into play is it's a very vulnerable angle. So that's why you see a little bit of hesitation coming out from the Hardships, being very afraid of the high ground as Rumblers are running in a little bit of damage back over towards them. Do note that the fact that Rumblers are not really inside a safe zone either. They've got a touch of their church that's still in play, but they're just trying to harass back over towards the angle that Hardships are going for. And it's led for pretty much all three of these teams to kind of pin themselves, not capable of moving.
Yeah, I think Rumblers is going to be able to hold that position till the blue closes and defend the other side of the road where that ridge is, and potentially move down there if that's what they want to do. On the other hand, you might see Crazy. Rumblers are the kind of team that wouldn't surprise me if they decide just to push someone. That said, I think they'll stick to it. They're sending Gaxi out to secure their forward position already. Very smart play by them. In the meantime, Lobes goes head-to-head with TC, drops Sharu, and Hardships is going to take the fight.
Nice little bit of a push back off inside of it. Hambino, the last one up. A lot of pressure back over towards him, playing right along next to the edge of the blue. Got to be careful. Gonna go ahead and get taken down. It's going to be a shot off to the side of this one to go ahead and finish it out. It's going to be Zenith that manages to get the pickup onto it. Looking back over now towards the hardships, we're going to have to make a push. While all this is going on, Duel is repositioning back over towards the circle. So while you can see the hardships trying to make their play, they're running right into Duel's hands, who's already set up and got a defensive line ready to go. Lobes is trying to make their way up the hillside, gets quickly spotted out, and Duel polishes off the hardships, taking them out in 11th place.
Duel takes out the hardships, and Zenith feasts on bacon, as both of those teams will enjoy some free points. Honestly, and it's no fault of either of those teams. They didn't have any options. Fable still trying to find some real estate, and now basically hiding behind a downed motorcycle. It has come to this.
I mean, he's not in the best of positions, but he is kind of close towards the center. So as long as he doesn't have to move, he's content for now. Got a remnants of Oath. Snaker's last one up's going to have to be repositioning over, as well as Ascendant's Ripper last man up. Looks like he's trying to make a little bit of a play of his own just to the south of their point. You have Oath that's going to get most of the control back over towards the north. The road that's kind of separating you can see just a little bit past where we're looking at with Oath right now, is a touch of a problem because there's not a lot of cover from that point, and there's teams on both sides of that road. So if they try to cross, they're going to find themselves in a lot of trouble. Ascendant's Ripper, the last one up, looks like he's trying to make an advantage play, gets a couple of shots through, almost gets it down on a Delta, does manage to take one down. Got to play this one very carefully. Goes back over for the meds, and you can see the push now coming out from Delta. Doesn't want to push the smoke. I like this coming out, but the safety almost backfires. Instead, they get the spray back over, should be able to get the res, and firmly regroup.
I like the play. Sneak into the smoke, get the heal off. It just didn't pan out. Nice breach there, and Ascendance is removed from the game. Up on top, Duel looking very aggressive with this position, but they got a long way to go to get into the circle.
They have Zenith that's going to be back over towards their west. You can see they keep glancing that direction, seeing if maybe they can get a couple knocks back over to it. Don't forget the Rumblers are playing just on the other side of Zenith as well. So whenever we see the lineup and positioning coming through, it wouldn't surprise me if Duel just plays along this lip facing of this hill and try to use that, because nobody should be playing down in that lower area right now, and just kind of sneak in back over where I believe we saw One Eye Open playing just a second ago. That might be a clear path for them to try to get some type of movement in on that. Meanwhile, Zenith has a little bit harder of a strategy. They don't have very good options. They've already got Gravity that's fortified in front of them. The Rumblers that are playing back over towards the north of their position as well. Zenith is just going to have to run and gun their way through this one, because there are not a lot of other options, unless maybe just finding a vehicle and sending it.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of teams that are in some pretty tough locations. Like Oath, for instance, has the circle, but they have a very tough decision about when to make their move to push across of it. We got Rumblers, who they had a great spot. They moved from the church to a good forward position, and the circle said, move farther, suckers. And there's not a lot of cover for them as they move farther into the circle.
Yeah, they have to be worried about Zenith's high ground position, but they know that Zenith has to move. So really, they're just waiting to see Zenith go ahead and make a play of their own. Meanwhile, Zenith is shooting across the entirety of this circle. Zenith is trying to take pot shots back over towards Oath and back in Veritas's complexes. They finally realize, okay, there's not a lot of good options. There's not a lot of good things. We've already revealed position. Let's just go ahead and try to use this ravine with vehicles. This is going to be along a similar path that Rumblers are going to be taking, though. You can see the vehicles rolling up. Waldo, yet again, finding himself right in the sights. Tries to jump out, getting away from Veritas. But it's going to be Kickstart that gets the quick pickup and flush. Punage goes down on the other side of this as well. Got to be very cautious off of it. Now you can see the push coming out from the side of this as Rumblers know that they still have the high ground advantage and can potentially play it.
Once again, Waldo is the lead man for the Rumblers. Try something, it doesn't pan out. And once you find Waldo, it's time to turn the page. And they're going to face the back push from Rumblers as they come up and over. Explosions, flashes, and the breach. Gaxi shoots under McCoy. As McCoy makes the push, he's blind, but he manages to get the knock.
Gets a lot of damage out for two of the members from the Rumblers, still just trying to peek up. But it's going to be Duel. They hear the firefight. They also have a high ground advantage looking back down into this little cubby. This has made it a much more difficult fight to work around, because Duel has a lot of utility and a lot of tools that they can bring to bear. You can see the view that they have to work with right now. Zenith is just full on damage recovery from this point, trying to see if they can get anything, but all attention now from Duel has shifted back over towards the Rumblers. They know the fact that they're weak at this point, just think if maybe they can fish some more damage out of this position.
They are putting in some serious work, but that may cause some third parties to gain some interest. They do have to be careful. Lots of nades flying towards the Rumblers, who have the smallest amount of space to remain in game. And Zenith is actually in a much better spot now.
They managed to firmly regroup, and now two different teams have their eyes set back over towards
Oh my
Rumblers. It's
gosh.
just a matter of time. Los goes down to a grenade, then there was just one. Finally, it looks like everybody playing the hillside from Duel is going, hey, let's just stop harassing poor Rumblers. Let's see if we can mess with Zenith just a touch. As everybody from Zenith just drops to their bellies, trying to use the vehicles for cover.
Blow up the cars. It's like a Michael Bay film over there. There was a lot of grenades. That was actually pretty wild. And now Duel is going to head down the hill into the spot that Lynxie locked up for them.
So with that reposition, they're going to go ahead and be the first ones to set up a defensive line. On the other side, it's going to be Sonics that have to push back over towards Veritas.
Ooh, nice.
There's that road that we were talking about just a second ago that Oath is trying to cross back over towards the east. Sonic is trying to find some type of angle to play around because remember, they still have to deal with all the high ground fighting as well. So in this low ground point, they've got a ton of smokes to try to work around. It's just time to run through. Try not to hot foot it because you don't want to end up catching on fire, but it looks like they managed to find a breach angle off to the side of it. Now starting to make a full-on push. I love the cover coming through. First member goes down. It's going to be Tickleton trying to get the spray on top of it. You can see it's Gwyn trying to play around the outside, but look at the angle he managed to find to work with. Good spray coming through from him and Mime to pick up one apiece. Make that two. Pop it over for Mime now as this is quickly dismantling both sides. Win and Shrimsy both still back up, looking back over towards the repositioning. Veritas no, the Molotov's going to come through. Shrimsy's in a little bit of trouble. Has to try to make it to somewhere safe, praying that he doesn't go down, and he does.
Sonics is eliminated in a firefight for the ages. That's the kind of thing I hope somebody breaks down. Like, was beautiful. The amount of smokes the Sonics used to secure the cross, and then their opponents, Veritas, used mollies to put in the smoke to slow down their aggression, and ultimately comes out with the win. Super amazing. Very well executed.
New circle has just popped. Neuron, nobody in it. Only one downed member coming up from Duel is going to be inside the safe zone right now. Cherry is the last person up for his squad, making a play back over onto this angle. You can see Veritas not going to have their complex in play anymore. Still just trying to recover from everything that's going on. Duel technically has 4 members up and is the only team that has 4 members up, but 3 of them are down, so I don't think that technically counts. Looks like we're going to see Lynxie going out here in just a second. Can we see Cherry get over to the res? Looks like that's the way he's going to commit this one. The other 2 teammates could... Wooly's going to bleed out. There's no way to get to that. And I don't think that Penta's going to be able to make the angle back over. Relo from Oath is playing this pretty aggressively. And can they run over and make it to Wooly in time? I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah.
Whew. Man, these games have been very exciting at the end.
I love Miramar.
You get a little slow at the beginning, but man, oh man, does it really kick off. And again, the circle is in a center spot where there's just not a lot to work with. So the teams are going to have to wait for the blue to close and play this sort of smash mouth ramen slam as they try to find their way towards the center.
I just had like 6 jokes based off of what you just said. And I realized I can't say any of them because we're casting. So I've got to get my gears turning for just a second. 8 people alive right now, 4 teams. There's 2 apiece. It is an equal balanced fight based off of positioning. So we're going to see, it looks like Zenith making the call, playing this aggressive. Looks like they've got their eyes set back over towards Duel. They just want to go ahead and take them out. Quick little flick going to be popping back off the side. Kickstart goes down. And while I like the idea behind what they were trying to do, it definitely does not go in their favor.
Yeah, you got to take a risk, man. In Duel, 13 kills. Cherry is absolutely popping off right now. Lynxie with 5. And remember, Penta went down, but he put 6 in before dropping. Duel is hustling, and they had a decent circle spot. They have some ridge line to potentially work towards the middle with, but it's a 2v2v2 matchup.
So whenever we look at the angle and the lay of the land, we can see that Veritas has a little bit of a ridge. And I mean a little bit of a ridge to play along. They've got to be very careful whenever they go for the peaks up towards the top of it. Duel has a very firmly defended high ground point, but they're so close to the edge of the zone. They're going to be one of the first teams that has to move. Oath is back over towards the eastern part of the circle. They have a couple little dips that they can play around, and they do have some good firing angles. It's really just about this positioning coming out from Veritas. If they find an opening to go after Oath, or if the high ground advantage that Duel has over really Oath's position, so much more than Duel's position, could be extremely beneficial. But Duel, I think, is going to be the big deciding factor, as both teams that are in the low ground are looking back up towards them. And yep, Pat Caps goes down. Now just Lynxie up. I don't think that you can go for this res, man. The blue's right back behind you, and it's going to hit too hard. Instead, throwing out utility, not a lot of options to really work with up in front of him. Throwables galore now starting to come out from Oath just to buy a little bit more time and space. Get that separation to try to pick up a couple more kills.
So many flashes. This is amazing. There's no cover. Everyone's just basically using whatever they have left in their bag of trick and hoping for the best. Oath, Relo try to put in some work. Left, right, left again. Drops to the ground, but the blue is closing. The fire's in front, and death is knocking on the door as Relo and Patcaps try to figure out how to make this work.
I love the reposition coming through. Gonna go ahead and get the knockback over towards his Patcaps now by his lonesome. You can see Lynxie goes down, gets the spray back over towards 2, gets a little bit of damage. Not enough to get a knock. He is in a 1v2 situation, starting to get the throwables out from point. Gotta be very careful of the blue zone stepping up. He knows it's gonna reveal his position, but no, it's gonna be Veritas.